Must have been a day, right?
Must have been a day. You know, it's actually been productive and moderately helpful in my life.
Uh, no, drop them truth bombs before we get started.
Pokemon Sleep.
Huh?
Have you heard of Pokemon Sleep?
I have not.
Pokemon developed a new Go Plus style um, doodad to like catch Pokemon,
Huh.
but they also developed a whole new game called Pokemon Sleep that uh, measures your sleep cycle and how much rest you get, and you get rewards Pokemon and like the Pokemon, like you're studying Snorlaxes across various locations, and the more sleep you get, the more sleep power that Snorlax puts out and draws more Pokemon in. So in order to uh actually proceed with the game, you have to get a fair amount of rest, and you get stronger by like going to bed at a set bedtime that you choose. And the more amount of sleep you get and the more deep and peaceful your sleep is, the stronger your Pokemon are.
I don't know whether that's brilliant or if I should be scared that somebody is gamifying sleep.
I had the gamifying sleep fear until I started playing it, and I'm like, oh, I'm consistently going to bed at 1 o'clock every night instead of staying up till 3 or 4.
Oh
Um,
man, it works on ancient millennials and children.
and like because like on Sundays I take a nap in between church services, like everything's like quadrupled in power because I
He's
get a nap too.
unstoppable.
And then but it's also got the Tamagotchi vibe because you also have to feed all of your Pokemon that are working to do this
Ah,
research.
I
So
see.
you've got to pop in for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which reminds you to actually eat yourself. So it's literally just a healthy reminder. And like I went full Daniel with it of well, I need to make sure I stop and pray whenever I feed my Pokemon. So so I'm getting that 3 times a day prayer reminder, and I'm going to bed at a healthy bedtime, all because
All
of
because of Pokemon.
Pokemon Sleep, because I'm
Not a
trying to get
sponsor.
this this gangster ish Snorlax.
uh, okay.
So
All right. Gamification of sleep, people. Go download Pokemon Sleep. Not a sponsor, but
you need to get the Go Plus with it though, and that also works revolutionary compared to its previous iterations. Like um, it'll flash like if there's a Pokemon nearby, so you can catch it, but you can choose which type of ball you throw at it instead of like regular, great, and ultra. But if you want to just be like God mode, you can set it on ultra, or you can set it on a auto spin and auto throw, and it will automatically spin every Pokestop around you, and it'll throw one ball at every Pokemon around you without doing anything.
oh, that's amazing.
So
Well,
just,
I guess we should do the comics now.
I guess.
I guess. Welcome to Pokemon Sleep episode number 1. I am your host, Chris Poirier.
Sleepy Snorlax.
Sleepy Snorax, Hector Mira. Uh, all right, let's do it. You ready?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Greetings, valued poll listeners, and welcome to episode 92 of the Poll List Podcast, a bi weekly show about comics, pop culture, and faith. My name is Chris Poirier, and with me, as always, is the one, the only, now available in plastic, Hector. How's it going, bud? You look great this morning.
Oh, you know, it's popping.
It's popping. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I feel kind of stiff this morning, a little lightheaded. It's just weird. But man, we took like a short break there. We had to help the podcast network reset some scheduling stuff. So if you missed us last week, you're not crazy.
It was a sacred
Um,
timeline. It was actually to coincide with the release of Loki
right.
season 2 coming
Now
out.
you have no idea whether we are Chris and Hector Prime or not, but you're just gonna have to keep on listening to find
Bro, I was never
out.
Prime. I always had to be like a backwards variant of
This is a variant.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, it's very believable, but oh, yeah, sorry. I just keep getting distracted this morning. I don't know what it is. It's all right. Though, but comics. So much comics. I read a lot of comics over the last couple weeks.
Me too.
So yeah, maybe we should. Oh no. Yep. I guess we got to do it. Strap yourselves in and prepare yourselves for We've Got Comic Scene.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better bring next song. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son.
Well, Pop Hector and Pop Chris welcome you to today's episode of the Polis Podcast. We've got a wonderful show for you. We're going to hit the latest news that you need to know, or at least the news we could actually find on the internet, which is almost a story in and of itself. Our must-pull recommendations from the past 2/3 weeks, our favorite new number ones, and so much more. For this is the Polis Podcast. Just kidding, we're back. They're going to have to figure... Matt just went, oh no, they moved cameras and it's complicated.
It is.
Sorry, guys. Oh no.
Yeah, sorry for the awkward.
Technical difficulties. This is fine. Everything's fine.
Nothing is broken. Accurate.
Everything's okay. Oh look, it's a bright light. Yeah, so also not a sponsor. Pop Funko, funk yourself.
I think it's a healthy choice that it is pop yourself instead of funk yourself.
Right.
Although
And
I think
you got to get back towards your microphone. You sound like you're a million miles away.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I gotta move that. Hold on.
Oh wait, yeah. See, we're professional podcasters here,
Pretty
Doing
professional.
doing professional podcast things. But yeah, you can funk yourself now for like $30, and we are not beyond doing a gimmick for the sake of the internet. Oh, man down.
See,
Those of you that listen to the podcast just went, what on earth did Chris and Hector just spend 10 minutes on? But that's fine.
Our wonderful production team's gonna edit it into
It's gonna
a slice of fried
if you
gold.
did enjoy our last episode of Homestar and Strong Bad,
Words of
give
Nick
you the-
Frost, it's gonna be a slice of solid gold. A slice of fried gold. That's what it is.
there it is.
I know this isn't comic news, but he released a cooking book this week.
What?
Yeah.
Huh.
He wanted.
News.
He said the legacy I want to leave my children is the meals I make and share with them. And I'm like, or that you're one of the funniest British comedian actor folks in the world. Whatever.
There we go. Well, now I have to make that transition of comical hilarity to something somewhat serious. So there I go. I'm really good at this. But I did want to talk about something kind of serious, and I titled it in our notes, The Problem with Big Comics. And I believe it is. And I don't mean big as in like it's 64 pages, giant-sized extra or anything like that, but literally that the big two suffer from, well, a lot of things that still don't make a lot of sense. But one of the biggest things that still bothers me to no end is, I'm not sure if it's true at DC, because I know it's true at Marvel, but I've kind of gotten the general feeling it's this way, that even big name writers that are on exclusive contracts usually don't get benefits from either of the big two. They're basically guaranteed a fairly decent paycheck. Their residuals all still suck. But you're basically still not an employee, even if your name is like on everything. And so recently, Thomas Tenney, who's been doing a lot of work over at Marvel, he got sick and he doesn't have health care. And I shouldn't be laughing, but this is not the first time I've read this story. It's not the last time that I have heard Marvel writers who have either stabled or been on larger contract with them that are like, yeah, I basically have to keep a day job so that I can actually feed, clothe, and provide healthcare for my family.
What's like with Rico, dude?
Yeah, no, it's a like we said,
We
we
have an
know a lot of people.
we have an associate who was one of the creators of Spider Gwen,
Mhm.
who had to maintain his comic book shop job,
Yep.
like and Into the Spider Verse was coming out
Yep.
before he could stop.
Yep. And so we've got folks out there that are running GoFundMe's and stuff like that just to pay their medical bills who are out here making the big two tons of money. And it's just depressing. And I feel like I constantly want to share this type of stuff with people because you may not know. And in a world where like literally everyone is talking about big corporations not doing wonderful things for their employees, like with the Hollywood writers strike and the actors and everything of it, it touches everything. And but comics, it's been a really long history of basically being like, cool, everything you do is ours, we own it, you own nothing, take your cents on the page, and hopefully don't get sick. And it just blows my mind that it's still a thing. But it's also a great opportunity to talk about things like the Hero Initiative, which actually was created by a bunch of comic book folks, from publishers to writers to other artists. They literally created a collective so that they could help raise funds and help pay medical bills for creatives if they got sick or injured or whatever. But the fact that that thing even has to exist still just bums me out and makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
So if anything, this is my Chris's soapbox of go to your local comic book store, buy comics, because it does ultimately help those guys. Like, don't take this is kind of like the writer's strike as well. Of they're like, no, watch the things that are already out there. That does help, but also be aware of what socially is actually going on, and the cost to some of these creatives is significant. Insofar as if they get sick, they could go without work for a fairly long time, and those bills aren't getting paid. And so, look into the Hero Initiative. You'll see them at a lot of comic conventions. If you follow me on any social media, I usually raise funds for them. I do the birthday thing for them every year as my thing because I just believe I know a few of the board members. They're all really good people. And we know some folks that have benefited, had some corrective surgeries done, that some folks that almost lost their ability to create because carpal tunnel and other things had surgeries paid for. Others had vision correction things so that they could go back to work. And it's just a really great thing. So consider
And
yourselves educated.
I know it's not the same for everybody across the board because there's different rates.
Yep.
But isn't like the standard for comic writers and artists right now, like for artists it's like $90 a page, or is that writers?
I couldn't tell you. And honestly, that number sounds high.
I feel like for the big ones, you get like $90 a page. And if a book is 32, or let's say with ads, 28 pages, um, like creating one 6-page book or one standard monthly issue of a comic book is roughly like $2,000 maybe
Right. And it's going to take you most of that time to do it.
to actually draw that.
Yeah.
So it's basically like being on my salary.
And then your residual for that is like pennies on the dollar at this point of sale.
Because like a comic book shop only makes like 75 cents to $1 per book.
If
like
that.
after, yeah.
And that's
So-
if they're a big store. Like smaller shops, it's barely a 10% margin. It's not great. So the more you know. Now we can transition to some of the rest of kind of what's going on in the comic booky universe itself, which is lots of randomness. Yeah, lots of randomness. So Hector kindly reminded me that I missed something. See, it's true. I do miss things. I tell you it every single episode. Here you go. But we caught it. And that's that Marvel, the Ultimate Universe, is on its way back. They're going to do a big ol' one-shot kind of introducing the new Ultimate Avengers, and then the typical Ultimate books are going to follow. So yes, all of you that want to ask me for the 47,000th time if Ultimate Spider-Man is coming back, yes, it is. And that whole thing kicks off in November. So we're only a month away from Marvel kind of jumping back into Ultimate. Haven't heard a lot of the pieces except that Jonathan Hickman is writing the one shot at least. I mean, if you're paying attention to Marvel right now, Donny Cates has had his stuff going on, and Hickman has been like, I'm writing all of the things. And if you pay attention to a lot of the big comic shops, producers rather, you're going to notice that when they exclusive somebody, it's thing.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot to be able to
Thing.
bank your whole line on one person's perspective.
And here we are. We're in Hickman's universe of the X-Men rule everything. Everything around us kind of thing. And I'm gonna save it for later in the podcast.
Croatoa rules everything around us.
Yeah, basically.
That's cream.
Is it cream? With a K?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We did it.
I did it. We did it. Side note for anybody that cares to have their ear holes tickled. There is an album where two nerdy, subversive, Christian-ish rappers make a whole new album. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, they're clean, but you might want to watch them at your lock-in. They make a pretty subversive album that's nothing but Wu-Tang beats.
Yeah.
Like they take every Wu-Tang banger and then they completely rap a different song on top of it.
Okay.
And it's called Wed, White, and Woo.
Okie dokie. Know what I'm looking for later today. Noted.
Merry Christmas. And there's there's a track on there called Cougar Swag. And that's just being talked about being pursued by northerly elderly women. And there's also a track called Ice Cream Sundae that is actually one of my low-key top 30 hip-hop songs.
I heard it here first, people.
Yeah.
Wed, White, and Woo.
Wed, White, and Woo.
All right. I don't know if I hate you or I love you for that, but
you're gonna love it, bro.
No, that's definitely. I'm all about the woo.
And
Wu-Tang is for the children.
They the cover looks like an anime, which is even better.
So onto the DC universe, because we are equal opportunists here at the Pull List podcast. And another thing that Hector brought to my attention is
I'm on top of the news now.
Right? Hector's out there doing the thing. I'm out. I don't do this anymore. This is a Hector show. And Kingdom Come, which is one of Hector and mine's probably all-time super favorite alternate universe, whatever, multiverse. I've lost track at this point.
One of the first positive mainstream books where the protagonist or storyteller is a clergy member that's not a douchewaffle.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But Kingdom Come is a great alternate universe in DC. It's basically Old Man Everybody in many senses. And the story itself is really good. You should definitely read Kingdom Come. But basically, they've said they want to do kind of a prequel space. So they're going to have Batman and Superman kind of revisit that space.
The current timeline, Batman and Superman travel to the Kingdom Come universe. And it serves as a prequel. But here's the thing. We've already done attachments to Kingdom Come.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that book, The Kingdom. There's another one. And I feel like Kingdom Come is very Watchmen-esque in space of most of whatever you do to tie into it doesn't help.
Okay, now, Alan Moore.
Well, it doesn't. And I'm going to say outside of the HBO show.
No. That part of writing something that is as intricate as both of them were is where that gets in trouble, because I would have to agree with you that kind of what happens is I feel like the people that follow are not putting the same level of thought into crafting the menagerie, such as it were, and it kind of makes the veneer crack on it a bit.
I personally believe that the HBO series of Watchmen is the only thing that stays on target with like the quality.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's people that will hate both of us for that, but
Dude,
I
that was a masterpiece.
no, and it actually made some of the before Watchmen stuff actually relevant where it failed in writing.
Yeah.
Because that's where I told some people, they're like, well, what do I have to know to watch this? I'm like, well, technically nothing, but having read it all will help you a great deal.
If you know the story of the Watchmen and you can
It's
watch the
probably enough.
HBO show, that's enough.
Um, but introducing us to a lot of the characters that before Watchmen actually laid out for us and then actually making their stories relevant was definitely a huge piece to that. Alan Moore hated all of it anyway, but who cares?
Alan Moore doesn't like anything but Alan Moore.
It's not wrong. So that is coming. We will definitely be reading that and figuring out
We'll definitely be reading one issue of that. The
what
rest
issue.
is debatable.
We will see, because I bet those are $9 books, because here we are. Yes.
Can I tell you what, like one of my favorite also just I hate you comic book industry things. Um I want to say it was during that whole era of like, oh, we struck gold with 52. We have to make Countdown so that we
Right.
can keep milking you for weekly books.
Who remembers Countdown? Almost nobody.
Nobody. Because it was Countdown to Infinite Crisis, and then it didn't even line up.
Ugh.
But during Countdown, they had Countdown Arena,
See,
and where they were bringing in all these versions of characters to basically battle.
right.
And they advertised Rorschach versus Batman in Countdown Arena, and Rorschach was never in the book. I bought all of Countdown Arena because I wanted to see Rorschach
Yeah.
smack around Batman, and I was like, I hate y'all. That was absolute false advertising, but I digress.
But I digress. Hey, you remember Luke Cage?
I do remember Luke Cage
Do you?
and his how poorly his show ended, and made me sad.
Well, there's that, but I mean just Luke Cage in general.
I am aware of the character.
Yeah, I am familiar with the fact that there is a Luke Cage. Do you remember where we left Luke Cage in continuity?
Yes, I
All
do. He
right.
was mayor of New York after Kingpin,
Right. And
and he's
how
just
long ago was that?
less than a year.
It was almost a year, but yes.
No, he was
No, you're right.
he no Jessica Jones
There was a brief hit.
there's in the Jessica Jones book that I bought that where her clones were showing up.
And right, which was a digital first and then print later, because
And then a little bit in the Daredevil run.
a little bit. So just in case you forgot that Luke Cage became mayor of New York after the
Fisk.
Kingpin,
Yeah,
and Fisk and that whole thing, which was a thing, we're getting Luke Cage back in, I believe it's in the next month or two, and Luke Cage Gang War is literally going to be a 3-part mini that actually talks about Luke trying to clean up the streets as mayor. So Luke Cage does not get minis and runs often. I feel like the last we see him pop up in a handful of things. I think the last thing was Luke Cage in the Iron Fist, which is like 3 or 4 years old now. And that was a mini. Just we don't see enough Luke Cage, and at least we're getting him back. So that's a thing. And I'm kind of looking forward to that, honestly. Because I like seeing characters actually go through the like making Luke Cage mayor and doing nothing with it for this long has just got to depress me. And only a 3-part mini to tell the story.
well, making Luke Cage mayor and then bringing him back in a book called Gang War just I feel like is more demeaning.
Yeah, it's not wrong.
I was like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, you did that.
Perpetuating the stereotypes.
Yeah. Comic books do be tropey that way, don't we?
I can't say that. It'll have to be edited out.
Hi-yo.
Hi-yo. They do be troping.
They do be. I think I know what you're gonna say now. It's even better. Yeah, definitely that. So Hector and I were talking a little bit before the pre-show. Like, if we start recording the pre-show before the pre-show, we'll be giving you almost 20 minutes of extra content every single time. And
which you can get from
if you join our Patreon.
our Patreon and our
exclusive pull listeners.
Our OnlyFans.
For $5.99 a month, you get the pre episode.
But it's OnlyFans. It's just us as custard.
What a world!
These jokes get any worse. They're gonna have to be taken into custody. Throwback Office episode 1.
Oh no. We're not. I think it's in our contract with LTN. We're not allowed to throw too many puns in a single episode, which means we're in trouble. So yeah, other things at Marvel, but we were talking, and I kind of low key had this revelation that they haven't said it, but I'm getting this vibe that Marvel is actually slowly replacing a lot of their characters, or they're at least universe shifting them into newish characters, which means Marvel's technically doing a future state swap 5G thing without saying it. And I don't know if I'm just crazy or if I am Charlie Day at the corkboard connecting things in insanity. And you either got that reference or you didn't. Don't worry about it. But the latest in the series is Death of Moon Knight is going to lead to the death of Mark Spector. Spoilers, not spoilers. The book is called Death of Moon Knight. Stop acting shocked. Unless this is a Marvel wedding, then he's not going to die. We'll get to that later. And so Death of Moon Knight's going to kill Mark Spector, which is going to lead to the vengeance of Moon Knight, and supposedly who is going to become the new avatar of Khonshu. And I'm like...
Be great if it was his therapist.
Well, actually, like, part of my brain is like, if it makes it one of the other personalities, like, we're going to kill Mark Spector, and then the other two personalities are like, why is there one less of us? And they just continue. I'm gonna be like, well, that was either clever or stupid.
If it's still the body, then you wasted my time.
Right, here we go. But I kind of,
and it can't be the girlfriend because we just did a what if about it.
Right. Or if they do that, it's like, well, that's not what if. It's literally what happened.
It's not what if, it's what was.
What was.
And that's just a boring book title.
Boo. This happened. Oh.
What happened, though? What happened?
So we had Daredevil kind of do a hot swap with Elektra, but that kind of resolved, but also kind of didn't. We now just kind of have two Daredevils, so we don't know how that one actually...
And I'm not mad at that, because what's Electric been lately other than Daredevil's girlfriend? So
Yep, no, and that's fair. And this is why I almost come back to the point of, if Marvel is doing what I'm tinfoil hatting here, they're doing it better than DC did. But the Punisher technically also kind of had his origin and concept swapped recently. I've not been reading close enough, but technically, literally all of the X-Men have as well.
All the X-Men are basically dead and come back. So
right, and Captain America just kind of restarted, but clearly is mostly on the same path. We just don't know yet because only one issue's been out. But it's not uncommon to put number ones in front of everything, but there is a slight shift in the characters without an announcement of a continuity shift. And I'm either crazy or you heard it here first. If I say I'm crazy before that, I can just be like, wow, I don't know what I was thinking when I said that. But I don't know. Read the books, come to your own conclusion. You're all smart people.
Right.
Aren't you? Aren't you? All that dead silence tells me I'm alone in a box surrounded by foam padding and lights. But That's what I had for news. You technically brought me news stories, so I don't know if I should ask you if I missed more because you're just going to embarrass me. Did I miss anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, I did it. Uh, so that's what you need to know. That's our bi-weekly, tri-weekly in this case. Look at the industry and delivering you all of the insider knowledge. As always, you can join in on the conversation with Hector and I over on the Love Thy Nerd Discord or on the Love Thy Nerd Facebook community. Tell us what you liked, what you hated, what I missed. As demonstrated today, I miss things occasionally. I know
You actually had to
in
read a Marvel book to
hey,
get the
first
story
first
about Ultimates.
first of all, how dare you? Yeah,
I read a Marvel
actually,
book. They didn't make it into
actually,
my polls, but
yeah, I did too, but I flipped past ads because I'm just like, whatever. Um, sorry, Marvel, 2-page splashes of new events don't do it.
it was
But
all text too.
oh, that's boring. That's
Like it was
probably
just
why I probably was like, wall of text. I'm not here for that. This is a funny book. But we did have a cool conversation on the Discord recently about IDW and their imminent collapse. So if you are interested in other industry stuffs, we've talked enough about IDW. I didn't need to bring it up again. But short version, some folks were like, well, what happened to all the cool Ghostbuster books? Well, that was one of the licenses they lost, which means all the digital versions of those books disappeared until somebody picks up rights. So you can still buy stuff that IDW has in print, but you can't buy digital versions of them anymore because the moment they lose that license, the digitals have to go away because that's residual they can make right away. The physical stuff kind of has that it's printed in the wild type approach to life. So it's just interesting. And it's like, what happened? And it's like, well, IDW literally has the turtles left and that's it. So it was kind of the conversation of is IDW going to make it through Christmas? And I don't know, but it don't look good for them. So there you go. That's your bonus news for the day. So I guess we should get into the thing that people come to us for. And it's not for
chief
plastic
counseling.
versions. It's not for plastic versions of ourselves. Or maybe it is. Look how adorable. Is it a likeness? No? All right.
Take off your hat.
Crap.
Yep. Yep. There you go.
Nailed it. So let's talk about why DC makes wonderful comic books. Brought to you by Hector.
There's not all DC.
There's one book.
Listen, okay, to be fair,
To be
I had lots of not DC in my list. This stuff was just better.
Oh, no, that's probably fair.
Um,
Because it was 3 weeks, and actually my pickup this week was as big as the 2 weeks prior.
yeah.
So, and it was a lot of indie, and most of my stuff is sitting in that space, which is some faith is returning. And the conversation at my shop this week was people asking what's changing in comics right now, and all of us resoundedly are like, you need to read more indie because they're telling better stories. Go on. Or DC coming out of events is telling good stories.
I will say that I am enjoying Gotham more.
Okay.
More than most tie-in crossovers in that. But let's hit Gotham War. Drop in with Batman 138. So to be on top of this, you needed to read Gotham War, Batman, Catwoman, Batman again, and then something else.
So what you're saying is it's an event.
It's an event and it's a multi-book event.
Of course it is. Does it have a
and
checklist in it?
It yeah, somewhere in the beginning.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's a small checklist, which is what I'm comfortable with. I think there are 6
good.
issues total. Like
That's
maybe
not bad.
8. No. And I'm fine with that. And it has been nice to cross between the books. But this, you haven't been reading this, have you?
I kind of got bored. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, fair.
So it happens. I'm not perfect. I am a broken human.
The nutshell is that Catwoman has started training criminals to just be robbers, not violent criminals. The main bad guys aren't happy with that. Jason Todd just wants to kill the Joker, and that's basically where it leaves us at. But as the last two issues, because I read the Catwoman before this, it didn't make the list.
Womp womp.
It kind of was more of a setup. But here's where we are in the state of the Gotham War. Vandal Savage has purchased Wayne Manor.
Right. I keep forgetting that Savage is back.
And Scandal Savage.
No.
Did you not read Secret Six?
Oh, no, I did, but still, no.
Okay. Scandal Savage has secretly infiltrated Catwoman's organization as her right-hand man without her knowing it was Scandal Savage. So Scandal Savage has been side by side with Catwoman, nudging her in the direction her dad wants. So this is actually like she's getting played as much as everyone else. And so we're getting like a layered effect with that. But one of the things early on is like all of the Bat kids are agreeing more with Selena than they are with Bruce, and they think Bruce has lost it and that Bruce is not mentally stable after failsafe.
Okay.
And so Batman, and this is why this one's worth reading, like above everything else. Batman goes full betrayal of character and integrity, because he pulls an identity crisis on Jason.
Okay. I did hear something about this, and I figured this is why you'd be living here.
Yeah. Where he injects Jason with a derivative of fear stuff that if Jason's adrenaline levels get too high, he goes into full panic mode. So he can't hero. He can't even villain because he gets like, I'm a poop my pants scared if he does anything above like the crossword puzzle.
Wow. Okay.
And
that's a thing.
yeah. And so like Scandal Savage saves him and like
Scandalous.
and she goes to like help him join the fight and he's like, I can't. And she's like, well, too bad, all I need is warriors, and just abandons him. And so like Batman has like literally, like if you're a fan of Identity Crisis or just the fact that Batman isn't about that, like he straight mentally and chemically manipulated Jason to put him on a leash. And the fact that if Batman was ever going to do that, it would have been like in Under the Red Hood.
Right.
Not now.
But here we are.
And it is a very Zdarsky thing to do.
But wait, would you say that it's scandalous?
But it is scandalous, yes. I'm just happy to see Scandal Savage again because I miss Secret Six and Gail Simone and the prime of when DC had good villain stories.
Oh, I'm sorry. Breaking news. I did forget about this, but that like made the brain pan. And this was a Twitter thing more than it was anything else. Gail has said on her social medias in the last week that in 2024 she is returning to comics proper, and that was her tease for next year.
Well, good.
So there you go. You're welcome.
Okay. So there's that. Up next is Penguin number 2. Did you read this?
Yeah, I did. There's a lot of words in these books, but man, it's good.
Penguin 2 is some gangster-ish.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I kind of like this version of Cobblepot that reminds us of that the short little stocky guy is going to murder you and your entire family and your entire network of people if you cross him in the slightest way. Every time. That's what he does.
So like this is him, he has to go back to like criming, but he wants his butler, and his butler is retired and has a happy life.
Yep.
And so this entire book is Penguin coming in like a methodical serial killer and slaughtering this man's entire family, well-being, staff, and existence. Like as like a master strategist in a way where he's mentally breaking who he has helped the entire time to get him ready to submit. And this read like Tom King has a little bit too much experience with serial killers.
Right.
This read like that it made me comfortable, but my booth was next to Tom's for a show. I'm like, you're too comfortable with this. This felt more like a
No, he's
Rorschach
a
book.
highly functioning sociopath. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, this felt more like a Rorschach book than
Yeah.
Rorschach.
Yeah, Rorschach's like, he looks down on the people and whispers no, and Cobblepot's like, I said yes, but I'm killing all of you that heard it.
But literally, the
What?
Tom Rorschach book that he wrote,
Well, yeah, no, you're not wrong.
this feels more like Rorschach than the Tom Rorschach book. This was great. I'm here for this all day.
Yep. Which makes me uncomfortable that he is here for sociopathic tendencies.
I've never said I
all
was
day.
healthy.
That's fair.
And this was a debatable one. Like, I shuffled between this and Birds of Prey and some other stuff. But Poison Ivy number 15 has Killer Croc, being wise, poetic, empathetic, and surprisingly, like, this book is nothing but Croc having Silent Bob moments where he pops up out of nowhere, breaks the silence with something incredibly profound, and you're just like, did that just happen? And like, he's only in here for like the last 5 pages, but that alone, like, just Croc's interaction with this, I'm gonna meme some of that after this conversation, was wonderful. So there's that. This series feels like it's been dragging on too long. Like, the first 6 issues were like perfect. At 15, I'm like, why am I still buying it?
Why
But
are
I'm
we
not
still
mad.
here?
Yeah, I'm not mad that I am. It's had some
Yet.
great moments,
Not mad yet.
but it's like eyeball it. And let me just say, the fact that Detective and Moon Knight weren't in my pulls this month, I breathed a little bit easier. So there's that.
There you go.
And click, click, boom. Been saying this the whole run. We'll probably say it. There's only one more issue, so it's gonna time out. Which, by the way, this is the same dude who writes The Cult.
Okay. So it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. But this is literally just a woman who is nonverbal. She communicates with Polaroids, and she's a psycho assassin, like Looney Tunes level gags and stuff.
Exactly like the Cole. Amazing.
Yeah.
What?
No, not at all.
Nope.
No way, shape, or form. But you've got this one issue alone is evil gangsters with a paramilitary force hunting down one investigative journalist and a woman who only speaks through Polaroids, and the little Polaroid girl taking out like the whole army. Like, if you gave River Tam a camera and a Paramore fashion sense, this is that. There's that.
Hands of Blue, 2x2.
Yeah. Well, she has hair of blue.
That's what it is. It's connected.
What you got?
What I got? I have all the weird books. Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna lead off with the weird one. So I shared the ash can of rare flavors. And so this is issue number 1. So half of this book was that. And we now know the answer because the ash can was in black and white. This one's in full color. So it's pretty. It's pretty neat to see that pencil stylized still from the ash can, but now has a fairly pastel color palette laid over top of it. And this was the book that, if you recall, I went back and forth and going, is this a cannibal book? It's called Rare Flavors, and it's about this really big, heavyset dude that is like, I am the best at discerning 2 things, and that is people and flavors. And it's like, what? What? I don't know. Those things shouldn't be in the same sentence. But I started reading this and got through the ashcan part, and then even further into the story as he's hiring a documentarian to help capture. He's been basically given these recipes for certain things from across the world, and he's telling the story of where they got them. And this one was for a chai tea in India, and literally,
you don't say chai tea, bro. That's saying tea.
I don't care.
Chai means tea.
Yeah, well, here I am. being
I just saying that for Spider-Verse sake. I don't really care.
yeah, well, I'm basic. So it's a masala chai.
It makes you twitch not to say tea after Tide. Does it? Chai, doesn't it? Yeah.
It messes me up, but I'm basic. That's
It's
fine.
like saying coffee, bro.
Literally steps through the story of this guy being handed this recipe down from his great grandmother, and like the preparation of the chai, and having businesses that closed over COVID, like tells this really background story of where the recipe came from and the flavors and everything. And in the documentarian, he's going through the process and everything. And I'm like, maybe this book really is about like the foodie thing and telling the stories that are behind like dishes and types of things, which is kind of fascinating if you're like into the foodie world like at all. And then literally the last 4 pages of this book, you find out that some crazy people in India that are organ harvesters, you catch part of this conversation with these two, and then you find out the dude that had the chai shop got murdered and chopped up and placed into a bin. And I hit the end of this book and went, is it a cannibalism book? And I still don't know. So this is really freaking clever. And it's only 1 issue in, and I'm still weirded out by it's really well written into the detail of talking about like the recipes and people, which is literally what the dude said. But now there's this weird murdery chop people up and put them in places that seem, I'm under the impression we're going to hear another story in the next issue and the same thing's going to happen. But we don't know if it's him, the documentarian, or something completely unrelated. I'm in. It's weird. It's weird in a really, really weird, unsettling kind of way. Because I legit was like, oh, no, it's a foodie book. And then the last like 5 pages made me go, what just happened? So there you have it. That's a thing. It happened. The Sacrificers.
I didn't see that. Is that Boom? No, Image.
Sacrificers is Image. It's the Remender that I've been talking about. Like it's the fantasy world where they all have been gathered up. That there's this process. It sounds like annually, where basically families have to give up either their youngest child or a child to be sacrificed. Is the understanding, but that most of the families don't know the actual lore of what happens. They just know they have to give up a kid, and the kid disappears. And the last issue, we kind of found that depending where they got people from, some of them have been raised that, this is an honor, it's glorious, we're going to like Eden type thing. And at the end of the last book, that's where they get, is this place with all this food, it's fun, it's enjoyable. And we were having this whole thing of, do they actually die, or is this like it's called that, but technically like your kids are being like celebrated and everything. So now that we're talking about like this concept and everything, I need to get to we now know what happens. And so spoiler alert, because I want to talk about this briefly, is they absolutely get sacrificed. And what happened is they're given this huge, like a week's worth of overfeeding them, joy and everything. And they're like, oh, let's go to the salon. And they put like the blow dryer thing on them and they suck out all of their joy. And the joy is liquefied and provided as rich people entertainment champagne. Yeah. Those of you that are listening cannot see the face that's being made, but yeah, that's kind of where I ended up too, because this is the last page. So
That's like milking a Dementor.
Yeah. So, but what's really wild is basically one of the people kind of gets freaked out that the people in the chairs next to him are clearly being drained of something and is like, oh God, and freaks out and they drain them. But because that character went into a state of fear, they're like, that one's not joy, but we have something for that. So that's what's being sacrificed.
This is Monsters Inc. with alcohol.
Yeah. Not yeah, and that when you drain somebody, they die. It's they're dead. So that's bad. But it's basically so the rich gods and a ruling class of this universe can basically drink people's joy at this huge party once a year. Um, so there's definitely social commentary buried there. But I just wanted to get there because I was like, I figured this issue we were going to finally figure out what the heck is going on. But I think we're about to see the rest of the story unfold because we've been introduced to the daughter of the king slash god thing that seems to kind of be against it all. So I think we're now going to kind of break into the story of we now know what the sacrificers actually do and why. Um, I think this is the setup for the story as opposed to the story, but we shall see. My next one is Void Rivals. Continues to be really fun from Kirkman, of kind of like the two aliens from different places that crashed into each other in the universe, and they're supposed to hate each other, but they end up liking each other, so they can come get home basically. And here's
So
the
it's
thing.
Enemy Mine.
Yeah, but here's the thing that makes my head hurt most about this book and continues to make me go, what are we doing here? Because this book is called Void Rivals. It is an image book that is in the Transformers universe. And I did not stutter. You did not mishear me, because they did in like the first or second issue, you saw an Autobot and a Decepticon. And at first it was, what the crap is going on here? Well, the answer is this book is in the Transformers universe. And back to what we were saying earlier about IDW does not own Transformers anymore. Image does. And they've referenced Cybertron a few times in this. Don't know where it's going or how it's going to interact, but this is technically a Transformers story, or at least something happening in that universe. Yeah. It's interesting, mostly because now I'm like, okay, I want to see what this has to do with Autobots and Decepticons.
Which is what they can do easily with that is like, all we got to let you know is this is here and you're interested. We don't actually have to provide content.
And I'm kind of thinking that's what's going to happen, is that this is basically another corner of the same universe, which is it's an interesting way to use a new IP without using it. You just have Starscream show up every now and then, and it's like, what? And finally, not my number one, because I found a book that was better, but I do want to talk about Marvel's Gods, or GODS, Hickman's monster installment. I think this is a 64 page. Because the way that it got pitched in a way is that it's not multiverse, but it's multiverse. It's not time travel, but it's time travel. There's a lot going on here. So some have billed it as kind of a new look at the Marvel universe and what is possible within it. But basically, we're being introduced to another Sorcerer Supreme that very much has the vibe of Strange, but is a different character. And they've set up an entirely, it's not a TVA or anything, but there's technically a group of magical beings that have a certain amount of order and order control requirements for the universe, or the Marvel universe writ large. And so this is kind of the setup to that conversation. Lots of pages, new characters that, like, the new guy basically has this vibe of Doctor Strange and Tony Stark in the same person. Did you read this book?
No.
Yeah. So it's like Stephen Strange, like snark is like turned up to 11. But part of it is that his wife, who kind of looks Emma Frostish but isn't, see,
Yeah.
but isn't, technically gets a promotion at work that requires her to get divorced from our Stephen Strange foil, because they technically work for the opposite ends of the magical control in the universe. She's like, I kind of need to take this promotion, but that means that I literally have to murder you. And he's like, or we could not do that. And they kind of go back and forth, and he's like, no, I actually love you more than that. And she shoots him in the face. and that's how he earns his white skunk and scar. And then to resolve the first chaotic event in this book, he literally jumps through time and space, bartering and trading up from a paperclip to a book of power to solve the thing. And that's literally what he does. Is his assistants following him through all these jumps and everything, and he's literally like, I'll trade you this for this. And he eventually goes to the collector and is like, I found, this is the part that's weird, this is the multiverse slash everything else, is I found a John Wilkes Booth penny. And it's like, right, that is the correct face that you're supposed to make upon hearing that and gaining that information. It's once he goes to the collector that you find out this universe is wicked small and you don't find these a lot. And the collector's like, yep, gotta have it. So you now have a multiverse slash, like I said, there is some time travel stuff going on here. So like both of those paths are like crossing each other and doing weird stuff. But he basically gets a book of power to help him resolve the first kind of big bad thing that occurs here, which is someone that is currently messing with the balance of all that stuff. This is very Hickman.
Yeah.
And mentions Krakoa and all of that. And I was like, just stop it. Just tell me this without that nonsense. But we'll see. So I think all of the craziness that he's done to the Marvel Universe writ large is present within this story. But this is kind of one of the first times that I didn't feel overwhelmed by the weird, which I kind of feel like Marvel's been living there for a little bit.
Right.
And it's Hickman snarky, which I thoroughly enjoy. So you get another shot. Mostly because I want to figure out what the crap is going on here. This did not feel as pretentious as the X-Men reboot. I guess is the way that I liked it. So there's those books. So what jumped out at the top for you though? What's the numero uno?
For me, and like we already talked about it a little bit off camera or whatever, is that like it was Wonder Woman #1. It's Tom King, so that's what, 2 books this week by Tom King. I like that he's still around.
And he's not dragging his dead mother in a coffin through the desert. I'm gonna get that in every episode.
We just need a sticker.
Right.
The Pull List Podcast. Not dragging your dead mother in a coffin through the desert. No, better.
3 issues.
Better than dragging your dead mother in a coffin through the desert for 90 plus issues.
Yeah. This is a quality podcast that we do here.
Yes. But basically this is you read it as well, but
yes, I did. No, I like, my hot take was this felt more superhero-y than usual for King.
Yeah, this was definitely more Zack Snyder than Tom King and normal.
Definitely was broody.
Yeah, it was broody. It was violent. But short version, and Amazon murders 19 people in a bar.
Yes.
In a bar. And so a government organization / malevolent force is now rounding up stray Amazons that live in the world.
Yeah, absolutely no political commentary taking place.
Tons. Here. Oh my gosh, this is so political.
Absolutely none.
They're literally showing up at people's houses like INS, separating families, murdering people. They now have some special bullets that'll rip right through an Amazon with no problem.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I was like, oh, and a super douche waffle guy who enjoys his work of killing these women,
Sergeant Steele,
and then so basically they just hunting down Amazons willy-nilly. Has a very government witch hunt vibe. And then they finally come to try and take out Wonder Woman. It doesn't go well for them.
She was not having it.
She had none of it.
None of it.
And there's just writing talking about who Diana is that sounds like a love letter, which sounds like Tom King just appreciating her character. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, we're introduced to a concept that there is a lasso of lies.
Yes.
Which is a very Brad Meltzer thing. So I get a little Brad Meltzer, I get a little Tom King, I get some nice art. I'm happy all day.
Is that I'm showing my naivete, but is that bad guy with the lasso? That's a new thing, right?
The
Or
Sovereign?
yeah, or is that a callback?
No, to my knowledge, it's new.
Okay, because yeah, so there's like this creepy old white dude that's like Murica, but is called the Sovereign and has like the Knights Templar thing going and it has the lasso of
Bro,
lies. And I was
you
like,
know who this villain
whoa.
is? Not what he's called, but you know who this villain is?
Oh no.
Ready?
Yeah.
He's the patriarchy.
Oh, okay. Oh.
That's not even a joke,
Yeah.
dude.
No, that's
That's literally his representation. The Sovereign at the end of this is the capital patriarchy. That's
yeah,
who he
no.
is. And he governs with the lasso of lies. Shenanigans. Come on, bro. That's political commentary. There it
Right?
is. That's my
Yeah.
book.
That was the other thing. I was like, the Sovereign? Who's the Sovereign? I was like, we're gonna the British people? And then it's like,
No, and the fact he's like wearing a crown, but probably American.
yeah, the big old federal eagle on his chest and everything, and the lasso of lies. And I was like, yeah, smells like Washington in here. Yeah, well, there it is. All right, my number one. Going to the other side of the universe. Image Comics be imaging lately. I don't know if you found this on your shelf, but Hexagon Bridge.
No.
I don't know what's going on. Is the lead in, but it's pretty. It's almost Isola pretty, but kind of more muted in some of the colors because there's some darkness to the story that's going here. But the premise that you're introduced to is that there is a group in the future that has a device that has the ability to make jumps from a current reality into other universes, realities. It's not clear, but it is referred to as the Hexagon Bridge. And the different places that the bridge can end up are referred to as hexagons. So basically, it's the bridge to hexagon type universes. And we get introduced to a handful of characters throughout this book that are jumping to different places looking for something, but we don't know what they're looking for. And those universes, these pictures kind of help you, are also slowly dissolving / falling apart whenever they visit them. So, and one of the sets of people literally finds someone else that jumped before them alive, but not exactly alive. Not zombie, but like incapacitated, still breathing, but kind of not with us. And we just kind of get dropped into this. And we meet one character that connects them all, which is supposedly the doctor that has kind of created this ability to travel to these places. And at the end, you meet a child who is one of the jumpers that it sounds like is looking for other members that are family or other people that have jumped before.
Okay.
So it's one of those books that you're like, all right, I think you succeeded at giving me the premise of what's happening, but not the whole story, which means I'm going to read issue number 2. But because of how pretty it is and it's so far kind of a neat concept, I kind of want to know why the thing was created in the first place, and what they're looking for. I think that's kind of the point. So I'm the dude that likes really weird indie comics that makes you think about things, and Image likes doing that occasionally.
Yep.
So Hexagon of the Bridge is a very artistic piece that I hope gets to a really cool point, because I hate it when they set something up and then like we end up with either trope or something else at the end, and it's like, you had such a good idea, what happened? Which teaches us that landing the plane is hard.
Unless you're
um
Batman.
then you
And you
crash.
can ride it like a horse or just fall from space.
Right. And Alfred will always put you back together even if he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's not weird. Is that weird? But I think that's the show. We done popped ourselves. We talked about comics. There was like news in there and things. That's what the people come for. So that's gonna do it for us here at the Polis Podcast. Episode 92 is now in your ears, your eyes, and however you absorb media today. I feel like we're in most
Oh,
of the places.
oh,
We
I need
haven't.
to I need to tell you a thing.
Oh.
Hold on. Ready?
More breaking news?
Sort of. See the shield on the back of the chair?
Oh, yes. Mhm.
Ollie's has the $120 Captain America Winter Soldier shields for $30.
I definitely paid $100 for mine.
Yeah. And they also have Mando helmets.
Oh. I'll have to look into that. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Check out your Ollie's, people. You never know.
Ollie's. Good stuff. Cheap.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Didn't you say you also saw Fable show up there around the time that we were talking about that?
Oh, yeah. When Fable went public domain, which has that played out?
Yeah. So sorry. Other breaking news is DC did absolutely what I expected them to, and the lawyer showed up and went, we need to talk, and then everything got really quiet. So take that for what you will. But yeah, DC came back and literally did that's not how this works. And then both sides got really quiet. So I have a feeling lawyers are lawyering.
Yeah.
But
Ollie's has an entire bookshelf of just Fables books.
You should read it. Fables is actually quite good. So definitely grab that. So, yep. We're all the places. It's digital. We haven't figured out how to beam it directly into your brain yet, but that's coming. Zuckerberg's working on it. We'll be there. But we couldn't possibly do this alone. We are part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. You can check them out at lovethynerd.com. You could find other shows. Hector has other shows there because he does nothing but create podcasts. That's what he does with his life. Right?
Podcasts and books. That's about it.
That seems legit. So you can hop over there, listen to some shows. There's some new content over there as well. Some new shows, some RPG stuff, some other ministry stuff. So if you're interested in listening to other pastors talk about nerdy, weird things, that's what we do. We're pastoral in that way. So check it out. You can also catch previous episodes of the pull list over there. And, maybe one of those things hits and you just listen to Hector on loop. He has a very soothing voice. It's wonderful. But that is going to do it. Hector and I do want to thank you for choosing us as your primary comic book knowledge factory on a near weekly basis. So don't leave us hanging. Rate and review the show. Like and subscribe. All that good stuff. You can find us on the iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, and so much more. YouTube, because if you listen to us, you didn't get to see half of the jokes that I made today. And that's either good or bad. But thanks for listening. And remember, kids, read more comics.
I'm gonna take all 7 continents as a game of risk.